Today we're going to do the head model, and just like anything organic, we always want to start with a good base mesh. And I'm giving you guys a great one. This one is used in the film industry at just about every major studio on the planet. So it's not exactly like theirs, but it's very close. So if we go into the class folder and then the ref, we're going to go to the Maya Human Head Part 1. And we want to copy that folder over because this has the head template. This has just some general proportion diagrams. This one's pretty generic, but it's also accurate. And then we have this one, which is kind of your standard art book one. And then this is the base template that we're going to build. And the reason we're going to use this setup is because these loops are in very specific places that follow the musculature of the face, and it allows us to get the shapes that we need without artifacts, and then it also makes it animatable very easily. So if we build the mesh in this manner, all the loops are going to loop out in the proper place. So for example, if I add an edge there, it's going to loop out. If I add an edge here, it's going to loop out right there. If I add an edge here along the nostril, it's going to loop out. So the loops are all set up so that you guys can succeed. So what I'm trying to do here is set you up for success. So if you start out with a bad template, your chances for success go way, way down. Because if the edges are not in the right place, getting the compound shapes becomes very, very hard. And rigging for animation, all those things get much, much, much harder. This edge flow also works for stylized characters. I've done it with a few. So this loop, or this facial setup, you can take this template once you build it. You kind of only have to build it one time. And then you can reuse it to infinity, essentially. So it's color-coded, so I have a front reference image, and I have a side reference image. So I also have ones that are not color-coded, so you can kind of look at those too if you get confused. But basically all you have to do is set these up properly and then correlate the green line at that point to the green line at this point, which is the same point. And then through triangulation, the magic of triangulation, it'll actually build you a base mesh in 3 dimensions that ends up looking kind of like a JSON mask. And then that JSON mask is what we're going to use to build a head that looks anatomically correct. We're not going to try to make this a likeness. So a likeness is when you try to do a head model and you try to make it look like somebody. That is much harder than just building a generic male head. So you don't want to start off at the hardest project. You want to start off at an accomplishable project, learn everything about the forms, how the loops work, and then on the next project, then maybe you can try to make it look like a celebrity or your favorite game hero or film hero or whatever you want. But for this one, we're just going to build a generic male head. All right. And so now we'll get started. So I'm going to show you how to use these reference images. I'm going to launch Maya. I should have preloaded Maya, shouldn't I? Okay, cool. So now that I have Maya loaded up, I'm going to set up my image planes so that they correlate correctly. And so to do that, I'm going to go into my modeling tab and I'm going to create a plane. And I'm going to stand it up straight. And I'm going to make it about the same size as the perspective grid. And then I'm going to put it up above the perspective grid, and I don't need all these lines here, so I'm going to go into the construction history and I'm going to take those down. I always type 0. It won't let me do 0, so it takes it to 1, and there we go. And because I'm using this as a reference plane, I really don't want any extra edges. The other thing I don't want is I don't want this reference plane right on the origin, because when I create lines or polygons, they're going to be overlapping that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it behind the line just a little bit so that when I create new geo, it's not intersecting this, that they're on separate planes. All right, now I want to assign an image to this. So I'm going to do a Maya material, and I'm going to do a Lambert. And then on the color node, I'm going to click on Create Render Node, and I'm going to pipe in a file node. And on the desktop. It looks like my folder is not there, so I'm going to copy it. There we go. Alright, I'm going to copy my reference image. So it is front color. There we go. And then I'm going to hit 6. And then I'm going to take this exact same plane and I'm going to duplicate it and rotate it 90 degrees. And then same deal, I want this one to be slightly behind the line. So I'm going to move it just to the right. I don't want it to be right there on the origin. Okay, cool. And then now all I have to do is assign a new material to it. Lambert. And I'm going to pipe in another file node. And this one I'm going to do the side color coded. And these guys should be lined up properly. I want to say that I did that last time, and if I didn't, I will show you how to adjust it, but I think they're lined up properly. Okay, now that I have these guys set up, I want to put them on layers. So I'm going to select this guy and assign him to a layer, and I'm going to call this head ref underscore L, but I want to say front. There we go. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to make another layer for the side. And, whoops, I hate when I do that. Okay, and the reason I do that is so that I can freeze these guys. So I'm going to reference them so that I don't accidentally model on them. And then I can hide them very quickly. And it just makes everything go faster. Okay, now that I have my reference planes in here, I'm going to show them, and I'm going to go to my lighting here and turn on two-sided on all of these so that I can see everything. And then what we do is, I'm going to hide the grid. What we do is we're going to build this in 2 dimensions first. So I'm going to build from here, this section right here. I'm going to build all of those polygons, and I'm going to build them flat. And then once I've built them flat, then I'm going to correlate them to the side. And what's going to happen is it's going to turn into a 3-dimensional model right before my eyes. So you guys might be thinking, why doesn't he just give us a base mesh? And I'm like, well, I could do that, but I want you to think in 3D. And this is a good method for building templates. If you can correlate, this type of modeling here is called edge flow modeling. If you can correlate points on 2 images to the same place or same-ish place, you can get a 3-dimensional model out of it, which will give you kind of a good starting point to build the form. So if you were doing a likeness, this is not a bad way to start that assignment, because you get close to the actual shape of that person's face by doing this. And you can trust me on that because I've done that on a few hundred projects, and it works. All right, so we're going to come in here, and first thing we're going to do is build this polygon. So I'm going to say Mesh Tools, Create Polygon, and I'm just going to build a polygon right there. Hit Enter. Okay, and then very easy after that, I have my polygon. What I want to do is, if you see a vertex on the image, you want that vertex to line up with the vertex in 3D. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go into edge mode here. Looks like my soft selection's on, I think. So I turn that off. There we go. And I'm going to say extrude edge. Push this over. Go vertex mode. Move it. All right. And then I'm going to go edge mode again. Extrude. And then vertex. Edge mode again. Move it. Move the vertex. Now, if it bothers you that we can't see through this, you could also change your shading to X-ray so that you can kind of see through. Some people like that. I can go either way. So X-ray is cool because now you can see underneath there, so you don't get obstructed. Yeah.
Okay, going to 3D.
Yeah. So if I go into 3D, see it's all planar right now. And then what we're going to do is after I built this is called the Robbins mask right here. So, and then this is basically just the facial template. Once I build a facial template, then we're going to start giving it dimension. And so we don't worry about dimension at this point because it goes much faster to just simply leave it flat for the moment. Oops. I haven't production modeled in Maya in a while. I think I could just start hitting G now. Oops, no, edge. Yeah. It's all coming back to me. Until it does it. Yeah, whoops. No, that's not what I wanted. It's really cool in 3ds Max though, they have a shift. I wish we had this in Maya. You can just shift drag an edge and it'll extrude it. It's awesome. And I don't think Maya has ever added anything like that. So I have to hit G. It's kind of funny that most people really don't like 3ds Max. That's the other Autodesk modeling product. Animation product, but I really like it. You guys have it here at school now, so we just don't have any classes that use it. We could easily use it in this class, but I think we want to. Here we're focusing on getting you proficient in one application, so that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to merge these two guys. So I'm going to bridge them and bridge these two guys. And then the reason I loop this out is because now I can just select this entire edge loop and extrude it and pull it in and check it out. I get everything. And so again, all I'm doing is I'm building the polys. So anywhere you see 4 blue edges, that's basically a polygon. And then some people freak out on this because they look at my template and they're like, that certainly is a vertex, but I don't know how that got there, so ignore that. They look at my template and they're like, oh, but that line there is curved. What the hell? Why is my line straight? It's because that line is actually drawn on a 3-dimensional model, and it's a NURBS curve, so it flows along that surface. So your poly edges will not curve like that. So you just have to line up the points, and then where it diverges a little bit, just ignore it. So as long as the points are on there, that's all that you need to worry about. Okay, now that I have a little bit there, now I can start getting some economy of flow. And then I think, no, thank God. I was like, because I'm using the normal to move these, I was hoping that I wasn't getting a 3-dimensional model out here. I want it to be planar. And so it's staying planar, so that's good. If it weren't, it wouldn't be a big deal because I could flatten it out at the end. Okay, so I'm going to correlate these verts. There we go. Stop it. Alright, sweet. And then now I can keep going. So I'm going to go edge from here to here, extrude again. Switch to world mode this time because I just want those to pull straight down. And then this one is really weird. People usually freak out on this one. What's going on there? And it's like, yeah, that actually goes there. And so that poly is really broken. But that's the correct position. And then for these, I'm going to come in here and grab these edges and extrude them. You know what? No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to come back to this one because it'll be easier once I build all this in, and I can just extrude all of those at once and get them all at the same time. Okay, so now I'm going to come down here and extrude these two. And then we'll go edge, extrude. And then these are going to be easier now because I should just be able to grab from here to here and extrude and pull them in. And yes. So that's the nostril. That's why there's going to be a hole there. And then for this one, this is a little weird because this goes here and this one goes here. And then for this one, we got a bridge. There we go. That's my nostril. Alrighty. And then now let's do the lips. Gonna go to world. This one's kind of interesting because we're actually going to leave a gap. So see that? There's two vertices there. So we have one vertex for an upper and one vertex for a lower. But we can put an edge in there though to just make us be able to keep going. But just remember though that this set of polys here is basically the gap. And we're going to end up deleting that when we're done here. So there we go, edge mode again. Okay. That. All right, awesome. So these polys are going to get, our faces are going to get deleted at the end. And let's keep going. Well, this is where it gets weird because this one, I have to extrude this edge over. And then I have to actually weld these. So these two guys, I'm going to just use the target weld. Target weld that one down. There we go. And then for this one here, this is actually a quad, but it's kind of distorted because it goes point, 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 and then point. And so for this one, trying to decide how I want to do it, I think I'm just going to extrude it. And then we can't really see it. Yeah, that one is going to be single point, but this guy here is a quad, but it's kind of stretched out. And you just have to be aware of that. So that guy there is a quad. So see 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to do this guy again, extrude edge. Because these are going to stay open, so there's a gap between those, and then this one's going to get merged. So I'm going to say merge to center. And then now that I've got this complete, I can actually take out these faces to give me the gap in the lip. And that's just there so for rigging so that we can open the mouth and put a mouth bag in there. So this guy can have an articulated mouth so he can actually talk and look realistic. Alright, cool. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and extrude all of these guys. So these get merged. Very cool. And we're cooking with gas now. Almost done. You guys are going to be expert mesh editors by the end of this class. Oops. And so for this one, I could weld this right now, but just to speed things up, I'm going to just put them really like right on top of each other. And then what I'll do is at the end of this here, because I'm getting real close to being done, I'll go ahead and weld all the points together. And if I were doing this production means if I were like getting paid to build models for movies or video games, I'd work a little bit differently than I'm doing right now. I'd do kind of things like I just did. And often when I'm teaching, I over explain things because I remember how it was as a student, and a lot of my instructors did not explain anything, and I often was like getting lost and stuff. And so I feel your pain if you've had instructors like that. Some people get annoyed with me though because they're like, dude, the guy just over explains everything. And I'm like, yeah, well, not everyone's as smart as you if you're one of those people who thinks like that or as fast. I certainly wasn't. But I had students in my class who were, and I hated them. I kicked their ass in the parking lot. Just kidding. All right, cool. So there we go. We got our base mesh. And it looks totally awesome. We're done. So let's see. So one thing I like to do at the very end too is just in case I missed a weld on any of the verts, and I already did it, but I'm going to do it again. Just in case I missed a weld on any of these verts, I like to do a merge vertex. And then I found that 0.1 was too close and it closed my mouth bag, so that's no good. So I'm going to go 0.01, and now it's going to weld all of the faces on top. Now if I want to confirm that everything's welded, an easy way to do that is to hit the 3 key. And if I had any holes, I'd probably see some artifacts. And it looks like I'm right there, actually. Yep. So I missed a few, so my little trick worked. So my threshold was just a little bit too big. All right, there we go. I think that worked now. That's everything. And I'm going to hit the 1 key to get back to my base mesh. And now we want to go about the business of correlating these vertices to the shape here. And once we have that, then we'll get a 3-dimensional model. So what I like to do is I'm going to start with the first edge. So I'm going to do the entire green row. So I'm going to grab all of the green ones. And then I'm going to pop over here to the side view and turn on X-ray. And I'm going to go like this. Okay, the green dot goes to that green dot. This green dot goes to this green dot. And so this is just like your highlights magazine when you were like 5 or 6 years old. Looks like I missed a few. It's basically just a little puzzle. Again, the reason I'm having you do this is because this works if you were doing a likeness. So if they came into you and said, we need you to model so-and-so's by hand, and you had 2 pictures taken from them from the side, you can use this technique and you can get a form that is reasonably close to the person, and it really speeds things up. All right, cool. So I did the first row. Now I'm going to go to the second row, so which is the yellow one. For the nose, I usually grab all of these and I put them all up on the same plane. So I'm going to pull these guys all up, and then I like to just kind of rotate them like this. And I figure those out later, so I just kind of place them here as a placeholder, and then I'll come back to that later. All right, so but I'm going to go to the next row, which is the yellow one. And you can see here where I like, on the other view, I kind of like move the vertex up a little bit to line it up. If you have some floating where the points aren't exactly on, like that one, don't worry about it. It's, you know where it goes, right? So as long as it's reasonably close to where you need it to be, and it looks okay in 3D, you can just kind of relax a little bit. With this type of a setup, we're never going to get it so that it lines up 100% with each view. So as long as it's close, that's what we want. So what you can do is you can average it so that it's close. It's in between the difference of the two. So I could be like, oh, dude, it's off here. Just split the difference. Just put it halfway in between. And then it'll be halfway off in this view and halfway off in that view. And it'll work. All right, I'm going to grab the nose here because this one I want to adjust just a little bit. So this is going to go right there. Okay, I'm going to go to, and you can see here now that it's like starting to get dimensional. There's his nose. So I'm going to go in here and grab the orange line. And that one's already up there. So there we go. That one's already up there too. So I'm going to grab the ones that aren't up there. I'm going to pull them up. And I think it's missing this edge loop right now. So you can see there, you might be going, where is that loop? Just ignore that one. I think there is one problem. I'm like, I thought I corrected it, but chances are I didn't. We'll find it out again today. If I have time today, I'll fix it for real. Okay, so that goes right there. All right, so see that? We're starting to get a nose. I'm going to go to the next line, which is my pink line. And those can travel with. Okay, and that one's already up there, that one's already up there, so push those up, come over here, like, okay, this one goes here, this one goes here, this one is right where it needs to be. Those are the inner tear duct. That one goes right there, that one goes right there. So if you do these one at a time, it makes it a lot easier. Let's make sure I have the right one. Yep, that's my boy. That guy goes right there. This one goes right there. I've had students though who do this exercise and they try to move like all the points and they don't go row by row. Oh my God. Don't do it. Make it easy on yourself. There we go. I think well, maybe my son can't do it yet, but in another year my son will be able to do this exercise. So don't be a baby. Do a 3D puzzle. Challenge yourself. But I hate this, Joel. Well, we can't always do things we want to do. It's a good exercise, or else I wouldn't do it. Alright, cool. This one goes here. That one. Is this the... Nope, that's the blue line. Ooh, I might have found my mistake. Yeah, there it is. I think this guy goes there. And then these guys go right there. So what I'm doing is putting it on the dark blue line. There we go. And in here, these kind of like don't line up perfectly. And I kind of fixed it. So that's where the error is in the color coding, is we're missing like a vertex in there. But the secret is, as long as I get that shape to look about right, then it's okay. All right, so now I'm going to go into the, and then there is where it's kind of not lining up, so I could split the difference on these and be like, okay. All right, now I'm going to do the last one, which is, or not the last one, but the almost the last one, the light blue line. Pull him up. All right, cool. And then now finally, I don't have this last one color coded. Let's see, these get a little bit funky. But this one is the corner of the eye. So I basically know that it goes right there. And then this one here is the side of the eye, so I know that it goes right here. I think it goes right there. And then these guys right here, that is the corner of the mouth. So pull those up. Those go right there. This one goes, I'm gonna grab both of those. This one goes right here. Oops. And this one goes back there. There we go. Okay, so we're almost done. And then that goes like that.
Oh, can I see your nose mesh?
So I think that what happened with my template, if I look at this, I think that it one of these lines got color coded wrong, and I think this thing goes like this. Like, I don't know if I want to try to fix it right now. Yeah, that looks right. And I think that one is orange. Let me see something. Just want to see how this looks. I think that's it. Yeah, one of these lines in the side profile got labeled wrong, and there, these jump up like that. That's it. Yeah, because that brow now is kind of flat, which is what it should be. All right, cool. so that is my base. I'm going to come into mesh display and say harden edge. There we go. And then if I hide the reference planes, check it out. I can fix that nostril now. So I'm going to grab all of those points, and I'm not going to really try to correlate these perfectly. Well, maybe I'll do like these two right here, because they go essentially this one, whoops, this point is this point, this point is this point. This point we can't see from this side. So what we'll do is we'll just put it pretty much even. Like this. And this is pretty much close enough. I call this close enough for government work because this is going to get heavily reshaped later anyway. So as long as that nose is kind of like flat and it kind of looks like a pig nose, that's good. Alright, cool. We're almost done with this thing. Now that we have our base mesh built, it told you it kind of looks like a Jason mask, but it does resemble that celebrity, which is Tom Cruise. So you'd have like a little bit of a head start here. I'm going to say import, and then I should have a head template back in there. I don't, so let me put it in there for you guys. Head back. I'm not going to make you model the back of the head, although it's not hard. This is a good enough of an exercise. So let's put that in there. So I have a mesh template that we can import, and it's in that same folder called head back. And I think it's really tiny though, or it's too big. One of the two. There we go. It's too big. I'm going to say center pivot. And I'm just going to scale it down. Until it fits. And we do have to model a little bit more because, let's see here. It's going to go something like that. Whoops, move that in 3D by accident. There we go. We do have to model a little bit more. We have to take all of these edges now from here to here. And we're going to extrude those guys. So I think I'm going to simplify this because I always try to do it too much and then people get lost. So I'll just do the ones up here. So I'm going to do all the color-coded ones first. So that'll be basically from here to here. And I'm going to extrude those edges. I want to do it in world. And I'm just going to pull these back. And so we can just color code these. So it goes there to there. Okay, and then I'll make it simpler for the beginners. And we can go like this. Oops, I missed one, didn't I? Okay, and then now the final, which is the chin. Turn off the grid. Okay, sweet. I'm going to merge these vertices. Maybe instead of 0.01, I'll go 0.05. And too close because that one got welded, so let's just pull this down a little bit, pull this up to make my life easier in the future. Pull this up, there we go. I'm making a bigger gap so that I can just weld this thing easier. Awesome. Okay, and then I'm going to do the chin here, or the neck. Extrude. Do it in world. Looks like I have some unwelded. Perfect. Hit the 3 key. Alright, cool. So I have the entire template now. Now I'm ready to weld this back piece on here. Looks good. I'll use my reference here to see, like, how did I do? Okay. There we go. Lines up pretty good. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to weld the head template because I didn't spend a lot of time shaping this part. I'm going to just target weld it to this one. So let's turn on edge faces so this is a little bit better. There we go. So you can see here that these guys all line up in terms of the edge count. So I'm going to go and say mesh combine. And then now I'm going to use, I'm going to go into vertex mode. Whoops. And I want to use the, I don't know what's doing there. I'll merge to center for that one. I guess we could split to the difference actually. Merge to center is not that bad for these first two. For this one, I'm going to use the target weld. And then we want to leave a gap there for the ear. That's where the ear is eventually going to go. So, ooh, double polygon. There we go. And I'm going to hit the 3 key. Oh my god, it's ugly. That probably means I have normals that are screwed up. So I'm going to say mesh display, conform. What that'll do is it'll make all the normals go the same direction. Hit the 3 key, so that's not my only problem. So I'm going to try to heal this thing by going to vertex mode. And I'm going to say merge vertices. And hopefully that solves my problem. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, so let's check the normals. So I'm going to say display polygons, face normals. So they are all pointing out. Alright, cool. Let me check my edges. Looks good. So this mesh appears to be solid, but it's doing this weird artifacting deal. And so I'm going to try one more thing before I do the nuclear option. So I'm going to say mesh display, and I'm going to say soften. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay, so what I want to do with this mesh is I'm going to export it. I'm going to go nuclear, and I'm going to export it as an OBJ. So I'm going to say File, Export Selection. I want to do an OBJ export, and I'm going to turn everything off. By turning everything off, I'm basically cleaning this mesh of all Maya nodes, like all Maya history. And when I import it back in, fingers crossed, it should be healed. So I'm going to say File, Export Selection. Again, that was Maya binary. I'm sorry, Maya OBJ export, everything off. And I'm going to save it to the desktop, and I'm going to call it temp. And then I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to import it back in, and hopefully it's all cleaned up. Nope, it is still funky. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's really strange. So somehow there was a duplicate edge. So see, you're not the only ones who do this. Even your instructor, from time to time, gets Maya'd. Whoa. Okay, let's try this again. So, vertex, merge. Oh, dude. So somehow I have duplicate faces. It appears to be on my template mesh. And so I'll pull that up, and if it's on the template mesh, I'll fix it and put it back in there. That's what it looks like to me, is that that template mesh got screwed up somehow. There we go. Alright, and yeah, somehow these all got duplicate faced. And the sad part about this is sometimes if you have duplicate faces, like I have, I'm actually kind of glad this is happening, because you're getting to see, this is more of a complex fix that I don't sometimes advocate for you guys, because I'm really trigger happy to just have you guys start over. But in this case, I don't want to lose my video that I just spent an hour making. And so I'm going to solve this thing much like I would if I was on production. So yes, it's admitted, I make you guys start over rather than showing you complicated fixes. So you get to see a complicated fix similar to what I would do in production if I was on a project. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going and finding manually all my duplicate faces, which, by the way, normally disappear when you weld vertices, and I don't know why they don't always. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This is a case where they did not. And this is what you can do. Now, because this is a base mesh, it's low enough poly that I can go in and just delete all these manually. There we go. So that's part of it. Face. So I still had some duplicates. Wherever, this is a good a good indicator here. Wherever we have these blackened ones, that's basically telling me, hey dude, there's a duplicate face here. And so I should have noticed this earlier than I did, but whatever. Probably you guys can watch the video back and be like, oh, there's the mistake you made. Nah. So if this were you in class, I just would have told you to start over. All right, cool. I almost have it all the way fixed. So I'm not sure why that one. Something just doesn't like these polygons, so I'm just going to delete them. And I'm going to bridge them. Ah, there it is. That little twist. Okay, so normally when they get that twist, that is a normal, but it's totally strange because I said display normals, and oh my god, they were all pointing out, but now they're pointing in. So I think that had something to do with the duplicate faces. I'm going to reverse. There we go. Now all the normals are facing the same direction except for this guy. There we go. And now we will be able to bridge these. So I have multiple issues that I hope you don't have. But if you follow what I just did there, you know how to do a complicated cleanup. There we go. And then these guys here, looks like they have duplicate faces. And then this one has a normal that's facing the wrong way. So I'm going to select that guy and say Mesh Display, Reverse, and voila. We have our JSON mask. All right, cool. And then I'm just going to turn the normals off. So I'm going to say display, polygons, face normals, and now we have a finished base mesh. And this is where I would like everyone to get. Hopefully you can do this by the end of class while you have me here. And this is an excellent starting point for doing our head model. All right.